Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi there, welcome to New Life Live. Love having you with us here today. If you want to join us on the program, 1-800-229-3000. Joining me in the studio is Becky Brown.
Hello,
Hi, Becky.
hello.
Always good to have you here.
Yes.
Dr. Alice Benton is in the studio. Hey, Alice, how are you?
Hi,
Hi, Alice.
Steve, Becky, folks.
Greetings.
Doing well, thank you.
And we got a special guest here. Her name is Mary Ann Davidson. Mary Ann has been with New Life. Many of you have received phone calls from Mary Ann and correspondence from Mary Ann. And Mary Ann's been with us 10 years, and this is her last day. We had devotions this morning, and Mary Ann has been ill. It was so great to see that she's well, and then she told us she's going to be retiring, and she told a story today, and I wanted her to come on because it's such a powerful story. I wanted to honor her to all of our listeners. She is part of the New Life family, always will be. But Mary Ann, as you're leaving, I wanted you to tell that story that you told all of us during devotions today. It was so meaningful.
Thank you, Steve. Well, this story is one that I believe epitomizes what we do here at New Life. So it's not just about me and what I experienced on this call, but it's an example of what so many of us, most of us here at New Life experience on a daily basis, where God just specifically brings someone to us and we're able to meet their needs. But on this particular occasion, it was late in the day, and there were only two of us left in the office, and Jeff, one of our MSRs, received a call from a woman who was in the midst of a crisis pregnancy. And so Jeff spoke with her for a little while, and then he came over to me, and because I had previously shared in devotions that I had had an abortion and shared about my journey to recovery, Jeff came to me and asked if I would talk with this woman. And her name was Jacqueline, and so I did speak with her. It took a while for her to open up and tell me her story, but she was pregnant. The father of the baby had been murdered 2 days before. He was having an affair with another woman, and the woman's boyfriend came to her home to kill her, and in the process, he also killed the father of the baby. And so not only was she struggling with a crisis pregnancy, she wasn't sure that she wanted to have a baby that this man who had betrayed her had fathered.
Yeah. So
we talked for a while, and while we were talking, I was able to get some information from her zip code so that I could look up a crisis pregnancy for her. I was able to find one in her area and referred her there. I called her back in a couple of months with her permission, and she told me that she had decided to keep the baby.
Aww.
So that was a wonderful ending to a unique call.
Well, Mary Ann, I just wanted people to hear that. I wanted them to know what we do here. We share our lives, and now there's a baby alive and a woman in the process of restoration, and it's just it's wonderful to be able to have you on your last day here, and we wish you well. Thank you for
Steve.
that.
God bless you.
Whatever you're struggling with, we've got some help for you at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. If you want to join us on the program right now, it's 1-800-229-3000.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here. Really glad you're with us here today on New Life Live. 1-800-229-3000. We'll miss Marianne, but so many of the folks here at New Life have that same heart. I want to mention, anybody, a gift of any amount, I'll send you the brand new Every Man's Battle 20th Anniversary Edition, revised, updated, got the new brain science. We didn't even know what brain plasticity was. We didn't know how much you could be healed and restored back then. And speaking of restore, then, well, we've got a restore workshop coming up.
We do. And for any woman who's experienced sexual betrayal in their relationship, that is the weekend workshop for you. We want you to come and join us February 28th through March 1st in Orange County, and you will be met with compassion and we're losing it over here, and with so many tools, encouragement, and just acceptance of where you are. And so give us a call, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or go to newlife.com. You can sign up there, and we will see you at Restore.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go to the phones. And how about we talk with Stacy? Stacy's calling us from Los Angeles, California, watches the program on Facebook, and we're glad. Hi, Stacy. Welcome.
Hey, how are you guys? You know, it's so funny. You guys have helped me through so much over the years, Steve and Julie and Larry. You guys have been there, and I really appreciate it. And it's gotten me to the point that I've ministered to a lot of people now, and I actually have you on a watch party right now because we're dealing with narcissists. And yesterday's program was the perfect time to talk to Dr. Amen. He would have been the perfect person. But, you know, Steve, you inputted a lot into my life dealing with the person that I was dealing with. So I want to have a question for you.
Okay.
And I'm just going to let you answer it. I don't want to get into too much because I don't want it to be biased. I just wanted to come straight from you. But through our chat, there's a lot of people dealing with a lot of hurts. And I would like for you to briefly explain what a narcissist is, but more importantly, can they change?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
Can they change their ways?
Yeah, great. So what's a narcissist, and can they change? And I'll just start, and then we'll go to Alice and then to Becky. But and by the way, I'll send you this book, Understanding and Loving a Person Who Has Narcissism. But first of all, we have to start with a narcissist is a person that has a very deep wound. It can come from many sources. It could be a traumatic thing that would be obvious, like being physically abused or rejected or something like that. That wound also could be injury, like 1,000 paper cuts. You know, it's not like one big thing, but a lot of little things together. And so in absence of healing from that wound or being supported in that healing, there is compensation. And that compensation is both comforting and it's survival. And in the process of comforting yourself, trying to make yourself feel good about yourself, and surviving in a world with this deep, deep wound of inadequacy and insufficiency and pain, you lose sight of yourself. You become blind to what you do, and you really are unaware of how people feel about themselves or within themselves and how they feel about you. So you think you're doing fine. You think you're doing what you're entitled to do because it feels good, or it's part of this survival strategy that you've developed. It's a defective strategy, and you're unaware, I could have done something different, and that would have been better for me, better for everybody else, but you just don't know. So can a narcissist change? Absolutely, but they have to be willing to listen to some things that they can't connect with. They have to be willing for a professional to say, here's who you are, here's what you're doing, and here's why. If they're not willing to hear, because it's such a threat, or they may feel like they're going to fall apart, lose everything, collapse, then there wouldn't be any hope. But when that willingness is there, there is great hope. Alice, you take it from there.
I think you said it really well, Steve. So I would add other words, that it's a defense system that covers up that underlying pain and insecurity,
Yeah.
but there tends to be a lot of denial about what's underneath the defense system, and even a blindness or an ignorance to this whole system to protect themselves. It's like the barbs of a porcupine to keep people at arm's length, to protect that soft underbelly. But it's just one form of brokenness, that we all bring our different forms of brokenness. Most of us have a little bit of narcissism where we're blind. We don't want to see. We don't want to admit to our shortcomings. And I would say part of the healing process is a lot of love, and usually we narcissists have to suffer some of the consequences of our behavior. We've got to feel some loss usually before we'll wake up and change.
And so I want
you
to
know-
add, can I add one thing before you go, Stacy, is that the opposite, the person who's in a relationship with someone who has narcissism or is a narcissist has to be careful that the label doesn't impede the process of healing.
Good point.
So a lot of times we, especially in this day and age where we know so much, right? We will label somebody with that tag and then just throw our
Right.
arms up and say, can't do anything with this person, and so we're done. And I think that's a danger in relationships. But go ahead, Stacy, what were you going to say?
But I think I have another challenge, and real quickly. There's a lot of chat out there. There's a lot of people chatting about this, but they're all beating up these individuals, and it's just negative. And, I put together NAM Ministries to help people heal more in a positive way, maybe in a Christ-like way, like you guys helped me through this. But through their hurts, they can't hear the love. I'm talking about the victims, not the narcissist, the victims
Right.
of narcissism. It's hard for them to hear it, and it almost becomes a battle because I can't get them past the hurts. And I know they need to work through their hurts. I get that, but there has to come a point in time that you have to accept who they are to begin the healing process and look and move toward forgiveness at the end. And to hear me say eventually it has to be forgiveness to some of these victims, it's like taboo. They get angry, and I can't get them past that hurt. How do I get them past the hurt?
Well, one of the things that you heard me do is I started with the source, not the symptoms that are so offensive. And so
Right.
what we would try to do is get them to become acquainted with, where did all of this come from? The more they understand whatever it was that led to all this, the more likely, not guaranteed, but the more likely that they would be able to move toward forgiveness. And we got to remember that, the Bible says that we need to get rid of all bitterness and resentment, not because we want to give a free gift to somebody, but because the gift is to ourselves. We get off track. We can't serve God. We can't be the person God's called us to be if we're full of resentment and bitterness. And so it's a call to a spiritual dimension of forgiveness that they have to move into. if they find it impossible or extremely difficult. But it is the answer. They have to forgive. But first, I think the forgiveness is made easier by understanding where in the world did all of this come from. It isn't just out of clear blue. This person decides to be blind and to be unaware and so uncaring and obnoxious, and it's all about me, and everybody else is a little less special than me.
Well, and the whole thing about forgiveness is that it doesn't matter what the label is that we're talking about. Our ability to move through forgiveness is about our ability to recover and to continue to move towards serenity, towards peace. And I know what you're saying, Stacy, is that you're talking to folks that are really wounded and that are probably still in this relationship with the person who has this label, and they can't see a way out of it. And they're still focused on the other person. If the other person would be different, then I could feel better. And that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the label is. That doesn't work.
Does not work.
We have to separate the forgiveness from the reconciliation, because people don't feel safe to forgive. But if they can accept that forgiveness allows them to receive the blessing and grace God has for them. I like to lead folks through a prayer of admitting to God, I don't even want to forgive, I can't forgive, but I do want to be obedient. So God, you do the work in me I can't do myself. And I see movement and change after that prayer.
That's right. And I think that book you're going to send, Stacy, is going to help explain those tricky places in those relationships where narcissism is present.
So I'll send you Understanding and Loving a Person with Narcissism, but I also want to send this to you. I want to send you this new workbook on grief, because one of the big steps toward forgiveness, not just understanding the other person,
right,
but it's grieving what I've lost by being married to that other person. And so I have to accept my reality, and then I essentially can walk into the present and not have to feel this searing pain every day once I get involved with what I believe is one of the greatest gifts that God has given us, and it is the grieving process. Jesus was a man of sorrows and acquainted with the bitterest of grief. It's a gift. It's not something that is a sign of weakness when we grieve. It really does free us up. So I'll send you the grief workbook. Anybody else, you can order it at newlife.com, and also Understanding and Loving a Person with Narcissism. Lizzie, Sacramento, California, Sirius XM, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. I just want to make a comment on the narcissist. I'm really living with one. I've been married for 14 years, and my husband, he was fired from a job for grabbing a female's behind. He's been addicted to pornography for 50 years, and I'm ready to leave, and I don't want anyone to talk me into staying.
Well, no one would do that, Lizzie. If one of the challenges when you're in relationship with someone who is basically disregarding you, you're not really in a relationship, and that's what I'm hearing you say. I would say even more impactful than him maybe being a narcissist is that he has a sexual addiction. I mean, and it's impacting every part of his life. What have you done, Lizzie, to take steps for your own recovery and your own healing?
Listen to your program.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to be in Southern California. You can come down and spend the weekend with us at the Restore Workshop. That's exactly where you can begin that healing process.
And, I think that anybody, okay, great. Anybody that is suffering because this person did this, any act of betrayal, you suffer. Well, that person is very difficult to imagine going forward with. But when you say to this person, if you have any hope of ever having a relationship with me, you go to every man's battle. You get well. Now, 6 months later, I might end up with a man who's living a life of sexual integrity, who has character, who is growing. That's what we're hoping for. We sure understand when, there's nothing appealing about this person, you're hurt, you're betrayed. But maybe, just maybe, wouldn't it be great if he could heal and then you could come to restore and heal also? Think about the Restore workshop. It doesn't matter if the other person gets well or not. First of all, you come to understand what it's all about, that no matter who this person had been married to, this thing was going to happen. And you're not going to love this person back into or getting attractive enough to change. No, none of that. We take all of that silliness away. It's sadness. And we replace it with truth.
And you know, the important thing is if we don't do our own work, the cycle can repeat.
Yeah.
Whether it's with the person you're with or a new person, we have to learn new ways of looking at life and healing.
Restore. It's coming up.
I feel blessed to have had this opportunity for my needs to be met, connecting with other women who are fighting the same fight, hoping for healthy marriages and growing closer to the Lord on their journey.
My name is Shelly Martinkus, and I want to personally invite you to the Restore Workshop. If you have been affected by betrayal, it might be that your husband has been looking at pornography, it might be an emotional, physical affair. I would love for you to come join us.
I feel encouraged and hopeful that even in my struggle, I am enough.
You will leave with hope, with a community of sisters ready to support you, and you will also leave with tools to move you forward on this journey.
Through the sharing in our small group, I realize that I am not alone.
Please don't hesitate. Pick up the phone, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. I would love to see you there.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Southern California February 28th to March the 1st. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here, Becky Brown, and Dr. Alice Benton on today, 1-800-229-3000. But if you have a question, comment, whatever, you need help, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have workshops. We have clinicians all over that really do believe that Christ is the answer, and in between us and that answer comes the reality, the struggle of life, and they want to help you through that. That's what they feel called to do. We'll help you find that, or a book, a resource. Latest book, Every Man's Battle. We've got 5 of our workbooks for life recovery. The general workbook, and then one on grief, one on divorce, eating disorder, and sexual integrity. Oh my goodness, they're so powerful. You work through that, use the Life Recovery Bible, all of that at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
And more. There's more than just that.
Much more.
We have all kinds of things to help you have a new life.
Yes, we do. Debbie from Dallas, Texas. KWRD is the station. Hello, Debbie. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
We're doing okay. How could we help today?
My husband and I are struggling in our marriage. We've been married 19 years, and I mean, there's numerous of issues, but I think what frustrates me the most when I try to express to him, you know, my concerns or my needs is communication. When we talk, he says that all I do is criticize him, and I try to tell him that I'm not criticizing, I'm just trying to express what my needs are and that I don't feel like they're being met. Well, he just shuts down and he won't talk. And so we just sit and we stare at each other, and then nothing gets solved. And if I ask him about it again, he'll just say, well, what difference does it make? It doesn't matter what I say. It's not going to change anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm feeling very lonely and not loved, and I don't know where to go.
Okay. All right. So, Alice, when you hear this, what are you thinking might be helpful for her?
Well, Debbie, first I wonder about your husband's history and if he has had very critical people in his life, whether his parents or a previous romantic relationship before. Would that be true about him?
Well, I know that this is his second marriage, just like mine, and he had the same issues in his first marriage because I know his first wife. I knew his parents when they were alive. I never felt like they were critical towards him. He's the middle child, and he's the only boy, so I know there was a lot of expectations towards him, and they all looked up to him. I don't feel like they put that pressure on him, but I think he put that pressure on himself.
So in addition then, I wonder if he is a people pleaser and maybe also a conflict avoider, that it's hard for him to hear anything that even hints of somebody being disappointed, that he's falling short of the expectations. So it's quite likely, most of us do this, when we have a history, we tend to bring it into the present. So I would bet he hears you as more critical than you actually are. You're just trying to express what you need, but he probably hears it as a loud criticism no matter how softly you put it. And then I don't think he thinks you hear him about his experience. So I'm going to give you something that might be tough for you to receive right now, but I think it will give you an in with your husband. I'd have you go to him and say, you've told me a couple times how critical I am. Would you tell me about it? Would you give me some examples? I want to hear about it, and I want to hear how it affects you when I bring something to you that sounds like a complaint. I think you're going to need to draw him out with questions and then very gentle, just listening without defending yourself. And it may allow him to come out of his shell because he's hypersensitive to anything that even hints of criticism. What do you think of that, Debbie?
No, I think that sounds good. I've asked him because it's our second marriage, and so I don't know a lot about his upbringing and his life because we met when we were adults. And I share my experiences in my life and how my family was and my things growing up. He doesn't share any of that with me.
So Debbie, here's the thing, Debbie, is it is so painful when we get, I mean, you guys are 19 years into this routine because it's there's a lot. That's why you're feeling the weariness. One of my favorite books, and I think it's true of all of us here, is How We Love by Milan and Kay Yurkovich. We'll send you that and the workbook. It gives a constructive way for you to have very important conversations, along with what Alice is talking about, knowing the history and really just getting to know each other from a place where it's safe. And I would say that he can't do this because he doesn't have the tools to do this. Like, you're asking him to share with him, but he literally doesn't have the language. And in How We Love, Milan and Kay so beautifully put together a list of words that they can use. The questions are there that can give a safe place for you to begin a new way of communicating with each other. And so while I know you're exhausted and weary from this, this could be the very thing that could make a difference. And, of course, I would love for you guys to come to Intimacy and Marriage. We're going to be in Dallas later this year, and it would be a great way for you guys to have those tools just literally given to you. So I hope, Debbie, that's helpful. It is hard. Communication is hard in any relationship, but marriage, oh, man.
So if you're listening and you feel like you're the man on the other side of this, I want to have a word for you as soon as we come back after this.
My wife had found me out through my past and my sexual addiction since I was a small child. It really gave me the opportunity to start digging into my past, start digging into my childhood, figure out what was causing me to feel the way I was feeling. Every Man's Battle will really give you that opportunity because all the guys there in that room are there for the exact same reason you're there. I don't want to be the reason that my kids are going to counseling. I don't want to be the reason that they begin to struggle with the same issues that I'm struggling with, and I've got to put an end to this. Yes, you can be different. God does love you. You can be forgiven for this, and there's a way out of this. But you have to acknowledge that you have to change, and that there's a problem.
If you're struggling, call us. There are people on the other end of the line who want to hear from you, who want to help you. We don't want you to hand down something to another generation that just looks like pain and destruction. You can hand down redemption, but you got to take that first step. Just give us a call. It's 1-800-639-5433. It's 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again. You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here. So if you're the man on the other side of this, you know, you may feel criticized and all of that. So you take a big gulp and you say, okay, this doesn't go well. I get defensive. I want to fix her. I want her to leave me alone. And you try something different. You try to put yourself, erase you from this dialogue for a minute. And you try to focus on what she's saying. And you try to hear it, understand it, and let her know that you not only hear it, you think you understand it, but you repeat it back to her the way you heard it, and then you maybe validate it. Now, honey, here's what I heard you say, and then you say to her, is that right? Am I right, or is it not right? You know, those kinds of things. And you just focus totally, one session, do that, on, is this what you're saying? Is this what you felt? Try to validate, see how that goes for you. Just see how it goes. One time, you might find it reduces her need to be critical and all sorts of other things that, you know, you thought she would never give up. So just want to suggest an experiment, a trial.
It's a great idea
for you.
It's a great idea. And Debbie, I would also say because there's been so many years of this kind of buildup, your challenge will be to not have resolution in the conversation. That this is a doorway that you guys got to walk through and begin to change the way that you relate to one another. And maybe you have him listen to this show later on.
I would do that. So yeah, would you listen? Because, and then I think when he hears you, you really need to let him know that is, yes, you've got it. And then have nothing else that you need other than just to hear that. And I'm really glad you called. So let me send you How We Love. I think it will really help you there. And for him, let me send you a copy of every man's Bible. Best-selling men's study Bible. Get him into the Word in a deeper, maybe richer way, and both of you looking at how we love together.
Steve, I think we wives also need to be really cautious not to overwhelm our husbands with too much at one time. We have high capacity for words, and we can bring too many needs, too many in too short of a time. So we've got to limit and pace ourselves so that our husbands can better receive what we have to give them.
I also think that you have to look at, because there may be husbands that have the high word limit and the high need to communicate. So I think we just have to look at our relationships and decide, okay, is the communication that we have effective? Are we connecting with each other? Do we know how each other experience one another, and what can be improved? And if you don't feel like you can have those conversations, you might need to do a little bit of work. And we all have work to do.
We do. That's right. All right. So let's go to Jay, Washington, D.C. WAVA is the station. Jay, how are you today?
Hey, praise the Lord. Thanks for the program.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm 64 years old. I just got out of a third marriage. My third marriage was, I just moved out. I was a battered spouse. And I find myself needing for that female companionship. And I don't know if it's out of insecurity or what, but it seems like I'm weak in that area.
So you've been involved with. Are you saying you've been involved with your other wives were abusive to you?
My other wives were not, but my last one was.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what's the question for us then?
Oh, out of God's word, I hope.
Jay, are you wanting to know what to do with the reality that you want to be in a relationship, but this last one was not good? And I'm wondering how the first two were.
My first two lasted for 14 years. My first one was 14 years. My second was 16 years, but the second one was ended 3 years ago. I was a caretaker, not a husband. There was abstinence in the whole 16 years of marriage because she had a mental disability. And this last one, since I met the woman, it was impulsive, reactive, physical aggression. And so I dealt with it for a while, and then we got married. And this past Monday, I submitted divorce papers.
All right. So let us help you here, Jay, so that you can heal from this and maybe prevent this ever happening again.
My thought, Jay, is that it's too soon to be thinking about anything.
Yes, that's
okay?
right.
You just filed the papers. You've got some work to do in the healing, the grieving, understanding what happened in this relationship before you even think about having a cup of coffee with somebody else.
Yeah.
And we've talked to so many people over the years about how do you get back into those relationships, but because I've heard of so many people who they're not even divorced yet and they're already looking for that next person. And what you have to recognize is that you're trying to heal a wound before it's even had time to get cleaned out. You're not paying attention, and so then you run the risk of repeating what you've already experienced. And so I would encourage you, Jay, to get with a counselor, begin the grieving process, and then there will be some time in the future where you can consider, okay, when will be a good time for me to begin to build a new relationship.
Alice, what are your thoughts here for Jay?
Oh, Jay, I'm imagining that you have been isolated and maybe have felt overlooked, unseen, or even possibly mistreated for the majority of your life. And so I think that you have a deep hole needing to be filled up with love. And maybe you've been willing to accept subnormal relationships where you were not treated well, just to be able to get some love. But we run into big problems when we look for that healing love only in romantic relationships. And we need to build up love with other peers, with other men, and even look at what we might have missed in childhood, so that we can get filled up in a platonic way, so we'll be safer and better able in the future to consider romantic relationships.
Good job.
You know, and I think the thing that would be most difficult but most helpful here is for you to get involved with some really healthy men in a men's Bible study. That's one thing. But, you know, when I ask you, you know, about what your question was and what you wanted to know about, you mentioned Scripture. And sometimes we've got to go beyond Scripture so that we can open our lives up to somebody else and let them give us, you know, some feedback or direction, things like that. And so study your Bible, but also be open to having a relationship with a counselor. And, you know, I can send you this workbook, this life recovery workbook on recovering from divorce. I'll send you a life recovery Bible, but it really does help you deal with these kinds of pains so that you don't repeat this again, which it sounds like, you know, you really have had some tough struggle. One of the things that's so hard when we're in pain is that there doesn't seem to be a quick spiritual answer. That really it's using the pain, or God uses the pain to grow us and build us up. And then, you know, we're able to endure and persevere. We grow in characters, what Scripture tells us. But it is never, ever easy on any of us. And so I hope and pray that you'll get around those guys and get some good comfort and support. Many times the more difficult it is for us to have healthy relationships with the opposite sex, you know, some of that's because, you know, men become men in the company of men, and we can't receive that kind of nurture and healing. Really makes it tough to be a healthy male with another woman. I'm going to take a break. We'll come back. 1-800-229-3000, 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out about Every Man's Battle on March the 6th. Restore, February 28th. Hope you'll join us.
My wife asked me for the first time in 2011 if I would consider myself a sex addict, so I signed up. You know, I'd read the Every Man's Battle book, and it was a great book, but the workshop, it was the experience that really was key for me. If they go to EMB, they're going to be in good hands. You know, this is a safe place. They're going to be surrounded by men that simply walk the talk. The weekend leaders that they will go through this workshop with, they'll help them to get to the root of their issues. You know, I've been through a number of well-preached sermons, listened to and read countless books, been to a number of seminars, but EMB for me was a game changer. It truly saved my life. Being in this community, being in this workshop, being around these men will change them if they'll let them. You're going to encounter men that will meet you where you're at, and you will instantly walk into a safe place where they're welcome.
If you're struggling, call us. We don't want you to go on struggling. Just give us a call. It's 1-800-639-5433. It's 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life Live stay in the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you a set of 4 devotionals, 100 Days of Character, Peace, Prayer, and the newly released 100 Days of Healing. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops.
I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's been immensely helpful to me. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
So, Steve, you were talking about how men grow in the company of other men, and I want to encourage you, it doesn't matter if you're male or female, being in a small group will exponentially change the way that you experience life.
No question.
And it can be a Bible study, it could be a life recovery group, and we have those all over the country. And if you're having a life recovery group that you want to list, we have a list of them so people can find you. And it's just, connection is the thing that we talk about all the time, yet it's so hard for so many people to understand how important it is in their own growth.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things that when we do the most uncomfortable thing, we reach out when we want to just go hide or crawl in a hole and come out about as often as the groundhog does, but when we do the uncomfortable thing, oh my goodness, the rewards are so great. So if you need a little encouragement or help in finding a group, you call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. It's always an honor for us to connect people with what could be the solution to a lifelong problem. Now, we do need some help here. We need your support, and I've got a couple of things that I want to be sure you know that we have available. A gift of any amount, any kind of gift, and I'm going to send you the revised and updated version, 20th anniversary of Every Man's Battle. And I'll tell you, there's stuff in here we didn't even know when we wrote that first one. And if you join Club New Life, we've got 4 100-day devotionals that we would love for you to have. So Club New Life has wonderful video access. It has discounts to all the things that we do. It is a special club to be part of, and it's the foundation of everything we do here. So call us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and we'll send you one of these great thank yous for supporting us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Let's go to Jane, Boston, Massachusetts, WEZE. Hi, Jane. Welcome to New Life. How are you today?
Good. Good. How are you?
Good. What is going on in your life that we could help you with today?
Yes, I was wondering. My husband, I just discovered once again that he is, looking at pornography, through some website and, getting pictures of naked women and corresponding with women and, doing it very sneakily. He goes to his office and I guess he corresponds.
That's how
with
men do it that are married.
A couple of them. Huh?
So this isn't the first time.
So no, this isn't the first time.
So what's the question for us?
It's just the question is, how can I get him some help? It's obviously a problem. He said that when I discovered it the first time, he said that he wouldn't do it again. But it's not really just that simple because looking at the internet, just things are popping up all the time. It's
okay.
And
so
if you don't have the willpower, so.
Let me just say this for the benefit of other people. I want to. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I want people to hear this though. Whenever you ask somebody to do something and they say, "I'll stop now and won't ever do it again," then the next thing is you say, "And when you do it again, I want you to agree right now. If it does happen again, here's what you're going to do." And so, Alice, if she was in your practice laying this out, that she wanted her husband to get some help, and he's discounting it, he's saying no big deal. First he said, "I'll never do it again." Now he's done it again. What do you say to her?
Well, Jane, I would want to make sure that you have some strong, supportive voices around you, because you have to take a tough stand here and make a firm request that your husband get very specific help. And we've got another Everyman's Battle coming up in March 6th in Dallas. That would be a great thing to ask for him to do, to say that you need him to do that, to have hope for the future of your relationship. But it is so hard as wives to hold firm to that request if our husband has already wavered and has already fallen back in and lapsed back into pornography. So you're really going to need some strong women who can journey with you and support you in staying firm and staying tough in what you need, so that you can protect your heart and your home and children if you have them, depending on what your husband's response to your request will be.
Yeah.
Becky, you have a thought here for her?
Our kids are grown, so we don't have any young kids at home. But, you know, I keep thinking, am I lacking and not doing something, or is it, you know, a combination of things? And, you know,
it's a combination, Jane. It's a combination, because in a relationship, especially where betrayal has occurred, you've been affected by this. So what happens is this power kind of differential, like what Alice is talking about. He just says, well, I won't do it again. And you're hoping that he won't do it again. And then he does it again. But there's never been a, if you do it again, this is what I will do. And referring back to what Alice said, is you're going to need some friends around you. And I'm wondering, do you have support in your life? Do you have people? And so you want to build that in your life. And I think so many times, again, I said this at the beginning of the hour, we want the other person to just be okay or do the right thing.
Right.
If it were only that easy.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, a lot of times we say, okay, I'm hoping, I have hope that he's going to, you know, make the tough choice here. But in reality, you know, he hasn't made that choice. Right. And so my hope is actually, what I'm doing is I'm wishing. And because hope has a foundation of truth or experience to it. We can hope in the Lord because the Lord has a consistent record with us of comforting us. But, you know, God wants to challenge us beyond comfort. He's interested in character, and we don't want to be the one that's sitting around enabling this evil just to continue to flourish.
And sometimes the wound has been so overwhelming that we are immobilized to do whatever the next step is. And that, again, is why we have to have those people around us. Not to push us in one way or the other, but just in those times of uncertainty, you know, am I doing the right thing? And here's the other part of this. You're going to be disappointed at times when the person that you're requesting to do something different doesn't follow through. And then you're going to be faced with another decision. Yeah. And so all of that requires inner strength. And, you know, I just encourage, you know, Jane, you can join us at Restore as well. But I would absolutely require that he go to Everyman's Battle. You can do that.
Yeah, and I think that's when things start to change, is when he sees something different in you. If you were going to a counselor and he knew you were talking about him, there's a good chance he'd like to have a say in that. If he knows that you're going to go do something you've never done before, and you start saying things you've never said before from a different perspective than you've ever had, that says to him, this is different now. I can't rely on the old way of doing things. And so we're wanting to see some real solid change here. You can make this happen. We know you can. You can do this. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Anybody else? But you hold on. We'll see if we can connect you with Restore. We want him to go to Everyman's Battle. You just say, look, if you have any intention of this relationship going forward, you have to go to Everyman's Battle, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Call them. That's how you make it happen.
Got to do something different. Something has to change, and it can't just be continued discovery.
We're going to do another program right now, 1-800-229-3000. You come join us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, if you need some help.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, But you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. Thanks for watching New Life Live on our New Life YouTube channel. You know, you can see it anytime. Hope you'll subscribe, and when you do, hope you'll turn that little button thing on, the bell, so that whenever we post a new video, it'll ring right through. Now, if you go to newlife.com, you'll see the schedule of when we're in the studio, which is helpful to know if you have a question for the program, or you could go to newlife.com or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You could do this on the app. I mean, there's so many ways that you can stay in touch with us and know when we're there, because we want to answer your questions. So thanks for watching right here on the New Life YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time. Click here to subscribe.